With the sheer number of moving parts involved in the creation of any video game, it is little surprise that virtually every major title ships with a biology lab full of bugs for players to laugh or, more realistically, cry at. And while smart developers are able to put systems in place to sort out any potential issues, not every game is quite so forward-thinking. Case in point, most of these games are great, and a few of them even masterful, but they ship to stores with glitches in tow that weren't merely inconvenient, but quite literally game-breaking. And even if the problem was ultimately fixed, nobody can give back all of those wasted hours. I am the eternal work in progress, Ash from WhatCulture Gaming, and these are 10 video games you can never finish. 10. Batman Arkham Origins banishes Batman to an empty void. Batman Arkham Origins launched with a ton of debilitating bugs and performance issues, including the ironic slow crawl that was the game's fast travel feature. And while most players were at least transported from A to B eventually, there was an unfortunate additional glitch which effectively broke the game for anyone affected. This bug would ensure the map failed to load, causing Batman to fall into an endless, empty, black void. But what made it game-breaking was the fact that Arkham Origins autosaves whenever it loads a new area, and with the game assuming that the player had been safely transported to their desired locale, promptly dished up an autosave which exiled the Cape Crusader to the abyss forevermore. Unless you had the foresight to use multiple saves before the cataclysmic moment, you were out of luck and had to start the entire game again. 9. Defective discs of Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness have a fatal error. Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness is unquestionably the worst mainline entry into the hit action-adventure franchise, having been rushed to market long before it was ready, resulting in a lackluster end product that is absolutely rife with bugs, as the game shipped with a glitch which would give the players the error message, Fatal Error, RMX version mismatch, which prevented them from progressing any further. This message was reported to happen totally randomly as the game attempted to load the next level, and tended to corrupt the player's saves in the process. There are message board archives full of infuriated players trying to find out how to get past the bug, though it was later revealed that the affected discs were themselves faulty. And this being in the PS2 era, there was no way for core design to patch the problem, with desperate players forced to either trial and error their way to the end of the game and hope for the best, or buy a new copy and pray it wasn't similarly broken. Granted, the game was rubbish enough that honestly, you were better off not finishing it anyway. 8. Deus Ex Human Revolution traps a crucial NPC outside of the map. If you're planning to do a pacifist run of Deus Ex Human Revolution and happen to play the optional side quest Cloak and Daggers, your non-lethal plans may have been scuppered by an infuriatingly common glitch. The player is required to incapacitate all nearby members of the Motor City Bangers, but the glitch forces one of the perps to spawn outside of the map, or the playable area at least, when he should be in the kitchen with the rest of them. While more action-orientated players could whip out their sniper rifle and maybe pick him off from afar if he spawned in a visible locale, for those committed to a non-lethal run, it effectively stopped them from progressing any further. And given that this side quest was a fair way through the game, it wasn't easy to muster up the gumption to start all over again to stay committed to your pacifist values. Just kill them all, or get in the bin. 7. The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess strands players across a broken bridge. Twilight Princess is one of the greatest video games of all time, and so it was genuinely upsetting that the flawed masterpiece was shipped to stores with a game-derailing glitch that left many players unable to continue without starting a new save from scratch. After players cross the iconic Bridge of Eldin, the bridge breaks, and players unfortunate enough to save after this before entering the Twilight will find themselves placed on the other side of the bridge upon reloading. Depressingly, there was no way for players to recross the bridge once it had been broken, forcing Nintendo to manufacture new copies of the game sans glitch and ship out replacements to affected customers. But the damage to the save file had already been done, and so players had to decide whether or not they could stomach repeating all of that lost time. At least the game being really, really good softened the blow somewhat. 6. SOULCALIBUR 3 corrupts your entire memory card. SOULCALIBUR 3 was another reliably entertaining entry into the hit beat-em-up franchise. But it was also a game that inspired legendary rage quits the world over due to its bizarre tendency to ruin PS2 memory cards. Basically, if your memory card had anything else on it prior to creating your SOULCALIBUR 3 save, you were at major risk of memory death. Anyone who moved or erased save files of other games after creating a SOULCALIBUR 3 file could corrupt SOULCALIBUR 3's Chronicles of the Sword save. Some players, meanwhile, reported their entire cards being erased and even bricked, potentially destroying hundreds of hours of progress across numerous games in an instant. Though Namco did eventually reissue fixed versions of the game, shipping it with such destructive potential in the first place was surely enough for many to snap the disc in half in a fit of blind rage. And fair enough, honestly. 5. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim traps players in a death loop. Anyone who's ever played a Bethesda game should not be surprised to see one on this list. They of course ship every single game they have ever made with a fair helping of jank that players often have to fix themselves. Those little rascals. This proved particularly troublesome in Skyrim's quest, The Break of Dawn, which concludes with the player being held in the air above a mountain by Meridia. In ideal conditions, the player is eventually brought gently back down to terra firma, but a common glitch causes the player to simply fall out of the sky and die on impact. The game-breaking kicker is that Skyrim autosaves at the beginning of this sequence, effectively trapping affected players in a loop of chatting with Meridia and then being turned into a crater. PC players were at least able to avert the glitch by activating God mode, and others reported success by ditching some of their inventory in order to lessen their weight. But sadly, this didn't work for everyone. 4. Some copies of Silent Hill Homecoming had unwinnable boss QuickTime events. During Silent Hill Homecoming's boss fight against Scarlet, players have to successfully complete a QuickTime event in order to move on to the next phase of the fight. Within hours of the game's release though, players went online to complain that the QuickTime event wasn't responding to the player's correct inputs. And it soon emerged that some copies of the game had shipped with a bug that refused to acknowledge button presses during this scene. As a result, players were unable to progress any further, and their shiny new copy of Silent Hill Homecoming had just become their shiny new frisbee or drinks coaster. We couldn't find any information about Konami shipping out new copies to appease affected players, which perhaps speaks more to the game's commercial failure than anything, selling less than 400,000 copies worldwide compared to the game's original estimated release of 1.6 million. Oof. 3. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas stops players from rescuing Mad Dog. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas may be one of the greatest video games ever made, but it also hit stores with a brutal glitch which stopped many players from progressing the game's insane story. The mission Mad Dog requires the player to stop troubled rapper Mad Dog from throwing himself off the roof of the casino to his death. Ideally, the player will park a pickup truck full of boxes below Mad Dog, cushioning his inevitable jump and allowing CJ to safely transport him to rehab afterwards. But some players hit a brick wall due to a glitch which caused Mad Dog to leap from the roof before the mission's opening cutscene was complete, failing the mission before the player even got a chance to attempt it. Though widely reported that the glitch was a result of players using the pedestrian's riot sheet, other players reported the same issue with a clean save. The end result is the same though. You're unable to proceed, and though PC players could hack their save file to fix the issue, console players were unequivocally forced to start the whole damn thing again. Given that this is one of the later missions in San Andreas, it is incredibly frustrating. And as brilliant as the game is, nobody would blame you for putting it down for a solid year after this. 2. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood traps players in an endless death tunnel. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood is often cited as one of the greatest games in the series, and though the stealth action franchise has a history of shipping entries riddled with bugs, perhaps none of them proved quite so fatal to the core experience as Brotherhood's
looping tunnels of death.
When venturing through Brotherhood's tunnels, which were used for fast travel, some players would desynchronize almost immediately after arriving at their destination, trapping the player in a loop of fast travel and desync until they turn the game off. The glitch required players to start the game from the very beginning, and though Ubisoft did deliver a timely patch to fix the issue, it unfortunately did nothing to repair affected save files. 1. Gran Turismo 2's maximum completion is 98.2%. Gran Turismo 2 is a fantastic racing game that was truly ahead of its time in many ways. But the original Japanese and American releases of the game unfortunately featured a mistake which quite literally prevented the player from ever racking up a 100% completion. GT2 was rushed to the market for Christmas 1999, resulting in a number of planned races, rumoured to be drag races, being cut from the game late in production, accounting for the 1.8 completion missing from the final total. Someone forgot to rejig the data, leaving millions of Japanese and American players baffled at their inability to fully complete the game in earnest. The issue was fixed in time for the European release over a month later, at least. Even as recently as 3 years ago, however, the error has been a major point of discussion among players, creating quite the debate in the speedrunning community about whether or not 98.2% could be accepted as 100%. Come on guys, have a heart. And that's our list. What other endless games belong on this list? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. I've been Ash and this has been What Culture. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and come back again every day for more top-notch content. Thanks for watching.